and welcome to another video on the White Dog Garage YouTube channel. My name is Bob. This one is a bit different to our normal videos of fixing things, making things, maintaining things, camping. This one's going to be a little review of the channel. We've got a few things to celebrate, and then I'm going to give you a tour of the shop. And I know everybody loves a shop tour, so I'll be pretty quick on the review. This video is being shot in the last days of 2023, and it, all being well, will air in January 2024. So let me start by saying Happy New Year. White Dog Garage is an engineering and mechanical services business that I started about 20 years ago. Started as a side hustle, the terminology the Americans like, and probably, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago I went a bit full-time with it, having retired from my day job, which was completely different. With the wife retiring a couple of years ago, White Dog Garage, the business, has returned to more of a side hustle as I do sort of retirement things, travel mainly. The YouTube channel White Dog Garage is celebrating 6 years on YouTube. We put our first YouTube video up in January 2018, and this one will be airing in January 2024. Up until now we've put up 100 videos on YouTube. We've got some 4,000 plus subscribers. Love yous all. And thousands of viewers over the years. Love you all as well. The viewers on this channel range in age from 18 to 65 plus. The bulk of my viewers are in the 25 to 34 year old bracket and the 35 to 44 year old bracket. So it's good to know that you young people are taking an interest in what this old person puts out on video. 98% of my viewers are male, and that probably just reflects the nature of the videos that I put up. 2% are female, and there are no other types apparently. The top 5 countries: United States of America is number 1, probably number 1 for almost everybody I suppose on YouTube. In second place is both the country that I live in, Australia, and the United Kingdom. Roughly the same amount of viewers there. And in fourth place is the Philippines. Can I say Salamat? And I hope I haven't butchered your language. And in fifth place is India. And can I say Dhanyavad? And again, I hope I haven't butchered your language. So on with the shop tour.
Hi, hello there. Welcome to my new home. Do you want to come and have a look around? I'll get my man to show you where everything is.
Opening the doors to the shop, it all looks a bit crowded, and it is. The main reason being that it doubles as parking for our car and 2 motorbikes. But once the vehicles are outside and some of the occupants are moved around, it's not so bad. The shop sits in what is a 2-car garage and has a floor area of 35 square metres, or about 377 square feet. The cupboards, the bench, the drill press, the bench mill and the lathe are all fixed in place. But just about everything else is movable, being either mounted on wheels or light enough to be carried. So we've got a big long workbench. It's got legs at either end and nothing in the middle. And if you look closely, it's got rather a large bottom section, which is the chassis. And the reason for that is that sitting beneath the workbench is a lift table that I use for working on motorbikes mainly, but all sorts of things, to be honest. I have made this lift table here in the shop. It is version number 3 and the best one so far. The table and base form the top and bottom of a parallelogram, with the bolted in place trolley jack providing the lifting. At this end I've got a collection of hammers This fella here, he's an original for me. But the big thing with hammers is having different weights. So there's different weights of ball peens and a rubber hammer and a couple of hacksaws. Still use those. We go further up. We've got a supply of workshop chemicals, various solvents, various spray bottles, but they're all sitting and clustered around the arbor press. It's a 2-ton arbor press. I use it for smaller stuff. You can see here I've got a few formers that I use in it. Works quite well. I've got a, I think it's a 35-ton hydraulic press elsewhere, if I've got something serious to press in, but for a lot of the small stuff it's just as easily done with the arbor press. And here we've got a big collection of nuts and bolts and other things. I tend to carry quite a lot because different jobs you can have need of quite a lot of different nuts and bolts. It's all metric pretty well, along with some unified ones, UNC and UNFs over there, and I've got a few Whitworths as well. Everybody, I think, when they see a program happening in a workshop, looks to see other things that are in the background, and one of the interesting ones that people have commented on is this one. This is condoms. They're not really condoms. What they are is the end of a glove, a nitrile glove, and they've been cut off, and I put them in there, and I call them condoms because this is an old military trick of when you're in jungle mud and slush and whatnot, and you put a condom over the end of your rifle, stop the stuff going in. What I use it for, of course, is that if you got a hydraulic cylinder in for a rebuild, they leak everywhere, and it's really good to put the condoms, as I call them, over the hoses or the inlets and outlets so that they don't drip oil over everything. Here is a steel bender. I've had this not that long, maybe 2 or 3 years. Gets quite a bit of use, surprisingly. I had always thought I'd make one. Prior to this, I used to just bend it in the vise, and but this does a much better job. The big vise, everybody likes to look at the big vise. It's a beauty. I bought many years ago, and as I said before, I had the steel bender. I would just put stuff in the vise and hit it with a hammer. Other thing we have as we go along the bench is little scrap metal containers. So you got scrap steel, scrap aluminium, scrap copper. It's generally the sort of scraps that I generate. And what happens is I've got bigger scrap bins, and every now and then when they get full, and the scrap steel is pretty full, I'll take it out and just tip it in. I try not to waste anything, so as you can see, and I'll get to offcuts in a little while, as you can see, the stuff that ends up in the scrap bin is pretty small, pretty useless. And the usual collection of charges. Down the other end of the bench we have a couple of heavier hammers, as well as 2 brushes and a pan. Regular cleaning up's a necessary evil in a shop as small as this one. Living under the bench is just the various cupboards. This one's just full of nails for nail guns, nails for lots of things, roofing screws, wood screws, etc. Caulking guns and various cartridges, silicone filler, liquid nails, etc. The drawers, so the top drawer It's just a bits and pieces drawer. So we've got adjustable wrench, shifting spanner, as I call them, wood hammer, nippers for cutting wire, etc. A couple of tire levers, a jimmy bar, a big punch, and a couple of cold chisels. Next drawer down is the panel beating drawer. So various handheld dollies and hammers to go with it. Next one down is just formers. Basically formers for bending metal around, etc. Next one down is snippers, rivet tools, and these are hole punches, sort of thing you need if you're making gaskets. And the bottom one, sandbags. I wonder where those have got to. Another pair of cutters, sandbags and hammers for doing panel work. Usual stack of short offcuts, couple of round files, more files sitting here, and this cupboard just tends to be a lot of junk, to be honest. It's mostly sanding stuff, series of round files and flat files and some triangular files, etc. There's more files lying under there as well. And this is more the plumbing end. So there's big grips, pipe wrenches, etc. No space gets wasted in the small workshop, and I use the top of the wall cabinets for storage as well. A storage organiser holding blind rivets with the pliers in a bracket at the end. Some leather treatment stuff, a biscuit jointer, a couple of boxes of window packers and a dumpy level. The next one holds some baby chains mats that I use as disposable work mats. They're really good for absorbing oil. A parts box, bin liners, and tucked up in the ceiling space are a couple of longer spirit levels. On the end of the wall cabinets hang squares and steel rules, including a big T-square. The T-square is designed for drywall work but finds a lot of use in this shop for wood and metal sheet work as well. On the end of the desk wall cabinet hang toolbox keys, a few magnets, magnetic levels and a staple gun. So in this cupboard, they're all a bit junky, but it's sanders, belt sander, orbital sanders, corner sanders, belt sanders, multi-tool, that sort of stuff. Various sanding pads, sanding belts, etc., grinding discs, flap discs, etc. In the top shelf here, it's polishing. This one here is actually a grinder, 7-inch grinder. The big thing is that it has a variable speed and comes down to quite a slow speed, which is what you want for buffing, polishing up paintwork. There's also polishing mops for the machine I have over there for polishing of metalwork. The next one along, I think everybody realises that having one grinder and changing its head all the time is a bit annoying, so you end up with quite a few small ones, and I have a collection of 3 4-inch grinders. They're all Makitas. I like Makitas. plus one 115mm grinder, which is another one of those variable speed units, and I use it as a wire brush. So the setup I have is a cutting disc, a grinding disc, a flat disc, and a wire brush. On the next level, my trusty old jigsaw, another Makita unit. I've had this for years and years and years, and it's a wonderful machine. Beside that is a shear, an electric shear. So it's this style of thing, very good for cutting through thin metal. Does up to about 3mm thick, or about 1/8 of an inch thick, so it's quite a handy unit. Next level up, and I won't get them down, is a sabre saw and a 9-inch grinder. When I started out, I don't ever remember 4-inch grinders. They were 9 inches and they were 7 inches, and they were always heavy because they were full metal case. And so I have a 9-inch grinder. Doesn't get much of a run these days, but it's still holding up. Still gets you a bit of use every now and then. So this cupboard here, bottom one's essentially air tools, various grinders, shears, needle scaler. Next level we have a drill sharpener and a ultrasonic bath. Above that I have my collection of nut rivet units. So pliers with changeable heads. I originally bought one to do M6 6mm nut rivets, and I ended up having to buy a bigger one to do M8 and M10. I probably should have bought the bigger one in the beginning. Never mind. That's a trimmer, a small router, 1/4-inch router, hot glue gun, supply of rev nuts, or brake bleeder. So this kind of cupboard, I originally had the idea that this would be a bit of a writing bench. Hasn't quite ended up that way. I tend to take the writing into the office that I have. So it ends up as being a bit of a rest place for small jobs yet to be done, and things that I like to grab really quickly, like scissors, pencils, scribers, etc. As well as, of course, safety equipment. We've got safety glasses, dust mask, ear protection, etc. And then sitting up here we have more masks, aprons, coats, etc. So this is just record books, and then above that is a few manuals. And then this drawer here just tends to be junk, unfortunately. And then below here, below here I've got drills. I'll get a couple of these out on the bench. This is just a heat gun. Had it quite a while too. Got a nice range of things. I even do some plastic welding with this. Have a little jigger made up to feed plastic rod in. Now over here, we've got a collection of drills, just a general duty one. This one's a high speed, must be only about 6, maybe 8mm chuck. It's really good for when you're just doing blind rivet work. This is a big old unit I've had for years. It's a big Makita, I don't know, 750, 850 watt machine. Nice big chuck, reliable unit. Variable speed and 2-speed gearbox. This one here is, they call it an engineer's drill, and essentially it's low speed and high torque. Just the thing for some heavy duty steel drilling if you want to hang on to it. Collection of hole saws. And finally, collection of SDS drills for drilling concrete, etc. And of course with the SDS drills, or bits, goes the SDS drill itself. This one's a real cheapo. It comes from what I suppose the Americans call a big box store here in Australia, called Bunnings. It's their house brand. They have a more powerful one out these days, but I got this one quite a long time ago. I was talking to another tradesman and just saying about I wanted to do some small work on concrete and was going to hire one, and he said, go down to Bunnings, get one of these, they're on special at the moment for whatever it was. He said it'll be less than the hiring charge, and when you finish with it, just throw it away. Well, I went down to Bunnings, I bought it, it was cheaper than the hiring charge, and I used it and kept on going, and it's kept on going ever since, so I haven't thrown it away. And we've got the big cabinet here. Various filters for servicing vehicles. The inevitable boxes of all manner of clips and split pins, grommets, saddles, O-rings, etc. There's various bike parts in there. I quite like motorbikes, and some car parts as well. Then we get down to rubber goods, bit of hardware, a bit of the welding area. Then we have the mechanic's tool chest. So we come up the end here, we've got degreaser and air tool oil. We've got various materials here for sealants, copper grease, etc. Gasket goo. Open up the top, a couple of oil filter grips. There's another one stuck over here. Breaker bars, a ratchet, couple of ratchets, and I'm keeping this, this top section is metric and it's 1/2-inch drive and just a series of sockets all the way through to 32mm from memory, plus a few long sockets here, and some tie wire, specialist oil filter units as well. Small drawers. This one's 1/4-inch drive, metric, extension bars, etc. This one is 3/8-inch drive, metric again, the usual extensions, breaker bar, ratchet, and so on. Final drawer, just bits and pieces, feeler gauges, etc. Next one is screwdrivers, both Phillips head. JIS, Japanese Industry Standard, I think it is, stands for. Slightly different to Phillips head. If you're doing Japanese motorcycles, you use the Phillips head screwdriver on what looks like a Phillips head screw. You will invariably stuff up the cross, and that's because it needs the specialist JIS screwdrivers to do it properly. Next one down is just, again, all metric, ring open ender and just open ender. Next one down is just ring, all metric again, flare nut spanners, and also ratchet open end spanners, all metric again. This one, just the speed sockets, so that's the long handle, got the socket on the end. It's very, once you get the hang of these, they're very quick to use, plus a collection of spark plug sockets, various sizes. The next one is hex head keys and T-bars, sockets, but also torque sockets. And there's two types. There's a 6-point and a 5-point from memory, along with impact driver. And this is a big hex socket that I made for undoing the front ends of late model Suzuki motorbikes. And then the final one here is just a collection of specialist tools, really. Some of them you may have seen featured in other videos. There's ring compressors, clutch hub holder, fork seal driver, engine rebuild stuff, timing or index wheel, and so on. Next one down, always quite a lot. Just various pry bars, specialist pullers. These are bearing tools for the steering head bearings in motorcycles. Adjustable wrenches, crescent wrenches, C-wrenches, and so on. Now, when I started out, Australia, all the measurements were imperial. So I still have all my imperial tools from back in the day. Every now and then they get used. Occasionally I do American stuff here, which is all imperial measurements. So it does get some use. Torque wrenches. I'm pretty good with small torques, but sometimes there's specialist torques required. More specialist tools, hooks, etc., oil seal tools, upholstery removing tools, cylinder hones, chain grips, hammer of course, various hammers, punches, etc., circlip pliers. And the last one is air tools, impact driver, rattle gun, impact driver, impact wrench, the battery impact wrench. You might have seen me do a repair on that recently. Air drivers, and the various impact sockets that you need to go with these, including a range of impact hex head drivers. Got all sorts. I think I go up to about 40 odd millimeters. It's depending on what you're undoing. Some of the trucks I work on got quite big nuts to undo. And finally we have the little cupboard down the bottom. So we've got pilot bearing puller, we have brake bleeder, we have a seal driver kit, so that style of thing. We have a bush driver set for driving in bushes. So this is a cylinder leak detector. It's actually for leak down testing. So you fill the cylinder with compressed air and then you look to see how much it leaks, and that tells you a little bit about the condition of that cylinder. Timing light. This is a set for balancing carburetors on motorbikes. Could use it on a car if you had multi-carburetors. A lot of these things have been aired in various videos. This is basically my chain installation kit or chain braking kit. So it's for setting up chains on motorbikes, and you can do rivet links, etc. That's what it's for. Quite a good unit. So this is an adjustable pin wrench spanner, etc. And this one's a compression tester. Different to leak down, it's about actually measuring the compression in an engine. And I won't pull them out, but sitting in there is various pullers and spring compressors. The next tool trolley to be shown is the electrical one. Starting at the top drawer, this one contains pliers, crimpers, screwdrivers, wire strippers, conduit cutters and cleaning gear. The next drawer down holds a collection of old shoe polish tins that I have repurposed to hold assorted cable joiners, as well as insulation tape, trailer cable plugs and inlets, blade fuse taps and wires with connector ends for testing. The next drawer holds Anderson plugs and fittings and assorted wire connectors and heat shrink tubing. The next drawer holds analog multimeters, vehicle computer readers and other electrical test equipment. The next drawer holds digital multimeters, a clamp meter in its bag, another timing light, infrared thermometer and circuit testers. The second bottom drawer is full of wire, different thicknesses, as well as spare fuses and light bulbs. The bottom drawer holds a range of soldering irons ranging from 20 to 200 watts, battery chargers and a couple of test boxes for testing trailer wiring. The mobility of the trolley is a benefit, as it can be easily moved to where the vehicle being worked on is located. Sticking with the mobility theme, this is a mobile paper towel dispenser and rag bag that was made here in the shop. It's really handy for being on hand at messy jobs, either in the shop or outside. This is the J.S. Richardson and Company E39 Bench Drill, the rebuild of which was featured in other videos on this channel. Probably 70 to 80 years old now, but still capable of drilling a 25mm or 1-inch hole in hard steel. Being a small workshop, you've got to use every available space. Sitting here behind the lathe is a pipe bender. On the end of the trolley, the mechanic's trolley, sits the garage crawler. This is the bench mill, which you've probably seen in many videos. It's a HM45. Manual movement with metric graduated dials. One of these days I may fit a 3-axis digital readout. A clamp set, and above it on the sill are 2 shop-made machinist parallel clamps. The table of the mill is fitted with a 150mm Vertex Anglock machine vise with rotational base. Very handy. The shop vacuum, always an essential tool in every shop. Quite a good one, this one. Good suction. A couple of swarf collectors. The lathe is a Henrob AL336. Has 900mm or about 35.5 inches between centres, and 300mm or about a 12-inch swing over the bed. It has a gap bed, which with the gap removed, the swing increases to 450mm or about 18 inches. It's been fitted with a quick change tool post, and this is the current tooling options. Tucked away in the corner is the 3-in-1 Shear press brake and rolls unit, underneath of which is stored more offcuts. Maximum work width is 1067mm or 42 inches, and maximum sheet thickness is 1.2mm or 18 gauge. At the back of this unit is a shop-made pan brake, which is used for thicker material. Got to at least 3mm or 1/8 of an inch thick sheet steel or about 10 gauge. Moving on, a 355mm or 14-inch treble cut off saw is sitting on the floor beside a 125mm or 5-inch metal cutting bandsaw. A fixture plate has been made for this bandsaw to enable small pieces of metal to be held for cutting, the shop motto being "nothing wasted here." It is drilled and tapped to accept the 1/2-inch UNC studs that are in the mill's clamp kit. Above here is a small bench which holds a Linisher sander, a 6-inch or 150mm bench grinder, a whetstone grinder, and another grinder that's been fitted with a wire wheel on one end and an arbor to take polishing mops on the other. Further on is a swage and jenny or bead roller, and on the other side of the pedestal fan is the shrinker stretcher unit. Behind it is a range of welding clamps and vice grips, and above that is a 200mm or 8-inch bench grinder. Above the bench grinder is another wall cupboard which has safety glasses, spare gloves and towels. Two welding trolleys, one with the stick welders, a 130 amp transformer AC unit underneath a 200 amp DC inverter. Beside that is the gas machines, a 200 amp inverter MIG machine above a 200 amp TIG unit. All of these welders are featured in past videos on this channel. This is the mobile tooling cabinet, to which a set of shelves were added to hold both the dividing head and, for the lathe, the alternative chuck and the faceplate, as well as increase the bench area. The top drawer holds marking out stuff, a pair of vernier calipers, a telescopic gauge set, precision squares, protractor, dial indicators and their mounting attachments, a precision level, letter and number punches, a micrometer that measures in inches, another dial indicator, a couple of 1, 2, 3 blocks, spring calipers and a combination set, a micrometer set that this time measures in millimetres, a set of parallels, and a depth micrometer. The second drawer is about threading and holds taps and dies, thread gauges and thread inserts. The taps and dies cover sizes up to 13mm or half an inch in metric, unified national and Whitworth thread types. The third drawer holds drills, metric and imperial, that is inch sets, a range of reduced shank drills going from 14 to 25mm. Actually, because I've had them for a really long time, probably 9/16 to 1 inch. A set of left-hand drills, a deburring tool and a set of spot drills, spare drill bits in the sizes I seem to break, drill gauge, extended shank drills, a countersink set, the cross-hole type, a step drill, centre drill bits, a set of Morse taper shank drills, and a set of adjustable reamers. This drawer is devoted to lathe tooling, mainly turning tools plus some live centres. Most of the tooling is for inserts, but there are some high-speed steel bits as well. The next drawer holds the tools used for machining and a little bit of specialist fitting. Spanners, hammers, soft blow and copper face from rawhide, an oil stone, various spanners, hex keys and screwdrivers. The next drawer has lathe stuff, steadies, fixed and travelling, a 5C collet set for the lathe head, as well as hex and square block holders, lathe dogs, change gears and so on. The bottom drawer is devoted to mill tooling, as well as angle plates and V-blocks. Another set of countersinks, a corner rounding set, a set of ball nose cutters, end mills and slot drills, along with a rotary table, arbors, slitting saws and face mills. Whatever you pay for a lathe or a mill, you'll almost certainly end up spending that amount or more again on tooling for that lathe or that mill. Again, making use of all available space in this small shop, the raw or unpainted steel is stored in the rafters above the shop. Some longer offcuts are also stored here. Galvanised products are generally kept in a rack outside. Also kept up in the rafters is the TIG and Oxy-acetylene welding rods, a range of rods for steel, aluminium and stainless, as well as brass for brazing and also silver solder. And that brings us to the last thing to show you on this shop tour, the Oxy-acetylene welding gear. This is another bit of gear that I wanted to talk about. Affectionately known as an Oxy set here in Australia. I've heard it referred to as the red and green spanner in the United States, and sometimes called the gas axe here. You can look at this trolley and know that it was meant to take bigger bottles, and I did that at one stage. These bottles I can actually buy and exchange rather than pay rent on, which is why I've gone for the smaller unit. Plus, these days I don't use a lot of gas. It's an old set. Gosh, I don't even like to say how old it is. The brand is CIG, which still exists in Australia, but back in the day it was Commonwealth Industrial Gases. It was a subsidiary of British Oxygen, which these days is known as BOC, and I think they split the CIG arm off. They used to sell gas, welders, all sorts of things. These days I think a lot of the gear is provided by Unimeg. I've had to replace the cutting torch, and I have a feeling this is a Unimeg replacement. And you screw one end off, or screw the blowtorch off, and you screw on the cutting torch end. And so what the cutting torch gives you is extra oxygen to give you that cut through. You can get a bigger specific cutting torch. It's quite a good unit. Used it many times. But there's something else I want to show you. I have another Oxy-acetylene set here. This is a Cobra DHC 2000, I think it's called. One time known as a Henrob 2000, the Dillion 2000, something like that. I think it was originally designed in Australia. What it enables you to do is to have a very fine tip for welding. I don't know how well you can see the orifice there. Bring it into view. And what happens is that you have a very fine weld flame, and this is really good for welding, say, aluminium. And you can weld aluminium with oxy-acetylene. And originally I bought this for exactly that purpose, to weld aluminium. It uses a whole lot less gas than the blowtorch here, and it's a very fine flame. I wouldn't say I was that fussed on it for cutting. I prefer this torch for cutting, but it will do cutting as well as welding. So one of the things that I found with it is that occasionally I would do repairs on toolboxes that have been in vehicles, aluminium toolboxes, and depending on how well they're mounted, they may or may not crack in use, and it's just welding up the cracks. Now, I like this for doing that, and I find that if I use this, the crack remains good. I have no comebacks. If I use TIG, it'll sometimes re-crack again, and I think that's to do with the heat affected zone. It's much bigger with this, obviously, than it is with a TIG torch, which is a very fine, the TIG arc is a very fine heat. Some years ago I was watching a video on Jesse James, not the American outlaw, the American chopper builder, who was showing how to make aluminium fuel tanks. Now Jesse James was using one of these to do his aluminium welding on the fuel tank, and the reason he gave was that the weld is a lot more pliable to planishing, English wheeling, because when you make custom tank, it's usually made in pieces. When they make them in a factory, they just stamp them, but when you're making a custom tank, you make it in pieces and you weld those pieces together. And of course, after you weld them together, there's a bit of hammer work that has to happen as well. And what Jesse was saying was that he found with TIG, the welds would crack and he'd have to re-weld them again and then re-hammer, etc. And he found with the, I think his version was a Henrob 2000, that when he welded it, it stayed intact when he planished it, when he hammered it, English wheeled it, and he thought it was a much better way of doing aluminium fuel tanks. So I think that's probably the same basis that I found with cracks in aluminium toolboxes. So apart from what I've shown you here, in another location there is big hydraulic press, parts washer, another couple of saws and whatnot. I can't keep everything in here. There's also my fixture table, which is also on wheels, so I can easily move around. There is a service trolley as well for doing things outside. Quite a lot of gear. I haven't bought it all in the last year. It's probably, you know, if I think back to my early days, gosh, I'm not even sure I want to say. There's probably 50 odd years of stuff there, tools, etc., plus stuff I've been given as well. It's all good. It all gets used one time or another. Sometimes I forgot what I have, and you know, find another way of doing things. I need to realise later that I had a tool for that. That's how it goes. Sometimes it pays, just like I've done today, to just walk around and look in every drawer. Anyhow, that's enough, I think. Probably spent far too long in this video. I'll talk to you again on the next episode of the White Dog Garage YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Bye.